when planning the race, I always want a diverse race for the athletes, but also for our series. Because if all races look the same, what's the point of traveling around to them? So, and I think that's the beauty with Swimrun, you know, we don't have these set rules. It has to be 6Ks of swimming and 35Ks of running, for example. Here we're free to do whatever we want. And I actually just picked the most beautiful places that I know of on Åland, and I've spent a lot of time there. Together with the locals. So the course is designed also by the locals. You pretty much run along the coast of the northern, they call it the Northern Sea. And it's very, very spectacular.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun Podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 257 of the show. We've got an exclusive for everyone this week. This is likely our finest piece of quote-unquote journalism to date, and we're joined by Ötillö race director Stefan Bjorklund to announce a brand new Ötillö World Series event. Mark your calendars for August 9th and 10th for the brand new Ötillö Åland swimrun taking place in Finland in the Åland Archipelago, aka Swimrun Heaven. We get into all the details for this brand new event, including the course design, course overviews for the World Series, sprint experience, and new Kidz distance, Kidz with a Z. Tip of the hat
I
for
feel
you.
like we took a little influence. I'm taking influence on that.
Anytime you can put a Z on the end.
Why not?
Plus, we'll also tell you how to travel there for only $6.
Less than a fika gets you to Åland.
From Stockholm.
And
so much more. A huge thanks to Ötillö for letting us be the first to cover this new event and for them reaching out and being like, hey, we want to do something with you guys to just get the stoke train going. And I'm sure, I think we did that.
All aboard, choo-choo, Low Tide Boyz. We are captains, co-captains of the stoke train, of the Swimrun stoke train, stoke boat, whatever vehicle.
Should get like little train engineer hats or something.
We need the wood...
The wood whistle?
Yeah.
I think one of my kids has one.
I'm sure I have one as well. I probably hit it because I don't want to hear the wood whistle. We'll add some wood whistle effects in the show for everyone. But yeah, really, really awesome for Stefan to return. The last time we chatted with him was right before the Whistler that he participated in. He smashed us by a good chunk of time there.
He did take our podium spot because if he wouldn't have shown up,
he should be ineligible. We should contest the results. But yeah, and like Chris mentioned, a big thank you to the Ötillö team for this, and they've really been on a hit last week, dropping the Catalina news for the Swimrun USA folks, and then in the Europe, the brand new race in just what is a amazing location. 6,000 different islands to choose from, infinite course possibilities. And I think the story of how the course came about is just really cool, and excited to dive in and share it with you.
It's awesome. Before we get to that, we've been talking the last few weeks about what we're now calling Dave's List, which is on our website. We have a list as best as we can, thanks to our super intern in charge of special projects and the extremely overqualified Dave Dammer, who's been compiling this. And head to our website because we just literally adding a new race there seemingly every week.
Yep.
And it's just super inspiring to see all that. So I encourage you to check out Dave's List, which is what we're calling it now, because he's doing all the work. And just a lot of awesome swimrun stuff happening next year. I know we said it in 2020, Chipper, but I'm going to go ahead and say
2025. It's happening.
Year swimrun. It's the year swimrun. I'm called. Maybe I hope I didn't just foretell for another pandemic. Hopefully not. But it's going to be great. It's going to be an awesome year. And if this exclusive conversation with Stefan Bjorklund, race director at Ötillö, does not get you stoked out of your mind,
get off the Low Tide Boyz stoke train.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Listen to it again or watch it on YouTube.
Absolutely. All aboard the Swimrun stoke train, and let's jump into the interview. Cue wood train whistling noises now.
Or chugga 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 chugga. Swimrun.
Oh, that's good.
That's what I did there.
Yeah. Good work.
Thanks. very excited to welcome back to the show for the third time, race director for Ötillö, Stefan Bjorklund. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, very excited to have you back. There's a lot of things we're going to cover, but the whole point of this episode is that we're doing an exclusive. We are announcing a brand new Ötillö race that's taking place. This is awesome. I mean, we love these races. We always say we want more of them. So here we are. Ötillö is putting together a new race. But before we get to that, we have to ask you, how did, swimrun season's over for 2024. How did it go? Your second year as race director for Ötillö. How, give us your race report on the season.
Yeah. No, I think, I'm growing into my role and position for each day. And I really enjoy and love working for Ötillö and developing the sport. And even this season, first year, we saw greater number on all our events. This season, we've seen more numbers on all of the events again. However, we're still trying to figure out how to get people moved back to the World Series category, because we see the biggest growth actually in sprint and experience. So we're hoping to see more people racing in the World Series next year.
Yeah, same. I think I love
where the most fun is.
Yeah, I mean, I love that the sprint and experience is so accessible for people, and that so many people can just come out and try the sport, and hopefully that catapults them into doing more World Series distances, and maybe even putting Ötillö, the World Championship, on their sites as their hero journey. Not that that's required. You can still just do World Series because what you want. But what we're here to talk about is the newest race on the Ötillö calendar, and it's going to be in Åland, Finland. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why this location, why Åland, and just start blowing our minds.
Yeah, I actually hosted a race going through Åland 2018, and it was actually an adventure race from Stockholm to Turku. And there all the athletes crossed the Åland Islands by doing, by then, the longest swim run in the world. That was 120 Ks by the time. And ever since then, I always wanted to come back and do something similar. And they've had a swim run event on Åland for many years that never really took off. And I was like, it deserves to really take off. So I've been working closely with Åland Event, who used to have Åland Swimrun, and now we've made it into a new Ötillö event for 2025.
Awesome. That's super exciting. And yeah, I saw Åland Swimrun has been around for many years there. Would love to hear how you kind of approach the course. Did you take what they had before? I know they didn't have a proper World Series, 40, 50 kilometer distance. They had the long enough around the 25K. So how did you think about how you were going to evolve the courses, especially when we look at the three different distance offerings?
Yeah, well, we actually made some modifications after we took over the race, and the World Series event actually going to be an A to B course, which we only have for the World Championship. So people are going to be bussed to the start and then work their way back to the finish line. And personally, I love races A to B because it's more of a journey instead of going in a circle. And this is going to be, probably the most unique thing, except of nature, of course, because this is swimrun paradise for sure. And but to have this journey from A to B, we made some modifications to go through the most beautiful areas there is on Åland, if you ask me. And it's not like I just picked Åland we're going to take Åland. There's more history to it. I grew up there as a child. We spent all our summers there as a child, and I was playing around in this archipelago. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity came up many, many years later. And I thought it was a great opportunity for Ötillö to also expand into Finland, where I think we have a big audience. that is longing for an Ötillö race.
Yeah, plus I think you mentioned it. I mean, just looking at the maps, and I encourage anyone who has Google to check out the map of Åland, because I mean, it just really does look like Swimrun paradise. Tons of islands, very similar to the Stockholm archipelago, where it's just like littered with islands everywhere. Looks very conducive for swim running. And I love the fact that, in many ways this was like your childhood playground, and now you've managed to turn it into a swimrun event all these years later. I mean, that's such an amazing story. So let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, Åland sounds interesting. Like, what else should people know about this region of Finland, and why they should put it on their calendar?
Yeah, so first of all, when I approached this to our team, first it was like, Åland? Where even is that? So it's actually located between Stockholm and Sweden and Turku, Finland. And it's 6,700 islands that sits in the Baltic Sea in between Sweden and Finland. And they are self-governed with their own government. So it's like the Faroe Islands, they're also self-governed. And but they belong to Finland. But all people there speak Swedish. So it's a really fun mix of everything. You got the culture of, it's a lot of like Viking cultures. I think actually the dates we've set, they also have the Viking festival. I should not be like,
whoa.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same date, but I have to double check this. And a lot of history on Åland goes back to Russia. They used to own Åland when they owned Finland, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of history, but that's where it is. It's like in the middle of the Baltic Sea with all these islands. And what's really cool with Stockholm Archipelago, Åland Islands Archipelago, and the Turku Archipelago, there's more than 100,000 islands. So that's why I was just like, this is a belt of islands. We should use it more. This is where the sport originated, and this is how it also can evolve. We need to host more races in this beautiful area. And if you've raced Gothenburg and Stockholm, it's like a mix of Gothenburg and Stockholm. The northern part of the World Series is really harsh. Like the rocks are so, slate? There's really beautiful to run on, but also a lot of verticals, up and down, up and down. And then when you come towards Kärringsund, which will be the finish line, there you will go into the trees and the forest a little more. But I think this is also the race we have most in and out of waters. There's a lot of islands and a lot of swimming, it's a lot of everything actually.
Good. You better be practiced up on your transitions. It seems like they're taking the crown from I know the Gothenburg race had a lot of ins and outs as well. How do you, from a race director's perspective, 6,000 islands seems almost an infinite amount of courses that you could design up. How do you go from like, oh, this looks like a good course outlined on Google Maps to actually being on feet on the ground and having it? How does that translate to being at a good swimrun course, especially one of the Ötillö caliber that we're used to?
Yeah, that's a good question. By all my experience of creating races, I've always first look on the maps, and I'm a bit of a map freak, so I really enjoy and love watching maps. So that's how it starts. And then, my experience by looking on maps, I can tell, okay, it looks like this in reality. And I look a lot on contour lines to see the elevation and how it lingers. And then, of course, I go there, and we have already been there to create some really nice promotion material that you've seen. And
confirm, it's very nice.
Yes. I'm watching this. I'm like, it makes so much sense why there's a swimrun here. Can confirm. Amazing.
So we've done... I've done the whole course myself, so I already know that this is definitely worthy an Ötillö logo on it, stamp.
Yeah.
And it's cool because this summer I was up there as well with my family, and I was training on the course. And this was after Whistler last year, so I got the feeling, and we've been working for this since a little bit over a year now to make this happen. So it's a lot of work to make it happen, but now we can finally release it.
Yeah, and there's something else that's happening, and just for everyone listening who's like, we want the details. We're going to get into the details of the different courses and distances and all that stuff. But before we get to that, I think there's two things that are really interesting. This is a 2-day format, so it would be the World Series and the sprint on Saturday, August 9th, and then on Sunday would be the experience and the new Kidz race. So would love the 2-day format. I mean, we experienced that when we were in Catalina, and certainly we've experienced the 3-day format at Worlds, which is awesome. So you get that sort of swim run summer camp for adults feeling, which is just great. But tell us more about the Kidz race and sort of how that developed.
Yeah, we've been looking into starting Kidz race now for since I came in 2 years ago. And we've discussed when and where to start this, and the plan was actually to have the first Kidz race in Cannes. Unfortunately, it never happened. So now for 2025, we're looking to have Kidz race on each destination where it's suitable, and we can create a good and safe course for the kids, of course. The whole idea of doing a 2-day concept on Åland is, first you have to get there, and sure, you can fly into Åland, fly in and out, but the most natural way, like it's always been, is by coming by boat. So either you take the boat from Stockholm, like central Stockholm, and you do the full tour. It's 6 hours from Stockholm to Maria, through the entire Stockholm Archipelago, and then you actually, pretty much when you leave Stockholm Archipelago, if it's a good day, you can see Åland across the Baltic. So it's really cool.
Wow.
Or you go through Grisslehamn to Eckerö, and that's only a 2-hour boat ride. And you can actually take the bus from Stockholm center, 1.5 hour up to this boat, and you go on the boat, and it's $6. So it's ridiculous. It's so cheap.
Wow.
So it's like 69 Swedish kroner for the bus and the ferry. And then when you get to Åland, you don't need a car. That's also the beauty. When you actually arrive to Eckerö, it's 1.5K walking to the resort, where you can book your accommodation through Kärringsund Resort. And it's really cool. They have 600 beds there. And we can really host like a swim run adult camp or kids camp, like you said, it's a perfect setting for it. And you can choose to, cook your own food in your little cabin, or you buy the food from the hotel. So it's really, it's really
a lot of options.
Yeah, exactly. Facilitated for this kind of events. And if you choose to go by boat from Stockholm, there's also a bus from Mariehamn that goes directly into the resort. But we also started this race because we want to attract the audience in Finland, of course. So there's even more boat options from Finland. There you can go from Turku, you can actually go by car from Finland, from Gustavs. You can come from Helsinki, Estonia, easily by boat to Åland.
I love it.
So it's really cool. And then when it became like a 2-day event after we made a promotion video, because as you saw, we actually invited a lot of Ötillö athletes to come.
Hey, you brought some friends with you.
Yeah, I brought some friends with me. So
I think the email got lost in over to our inbox, so.
It must have gone to our spam.
Next time, guys.
Yeah.
So and it was actually they told us, hey, we want to race with our kids, because I thought we were going to have everything on one day, as we have done the past year. but they were more like, hey, can we split it up so we can do the World Series the first day, and then potentially the next day we can do the experience or the kids race, depending on what age you have on your kids. So that was actually their request, and I just facilitated that. So, yeah.
That's great. I also like that you spelled kids with a Z. So, that's always good.
Yeah. Makes it a little more fun.
Yeah. Love the 2-day concept. And I know that's one of some of the most memorable pieces. Obviously, doing Ötillö, the World Championship, is its own memorable journey, but like the days before and the day after and the breakfast the next day, like being a part of the community for multiple days in a row really just does something to the whole experience that really levels it up and makes it a much more memorable experience. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how it goes, and hopefully it's something that catches on that you all can roll out to future races as well, because I do think there is that gap or that need, I guess, that people do want to have multiple experiences, want to make it more of a vacation and bring their family. So this seems like a really great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the trend we're seeing, that people, of course, they want to do the race, but they also want to share their experience with family and friends. And yeah, I think maybe it's not for all our races, but this location, it works really, really well. Especially with the boat traffic as well that we have to consider. So all the races are planned, so you could leave with the boat after each race, which is also like something that we have considered. But for sure, it's going to be cool because, it's a beautiful location for all the races. Both Sprint Experience, World Series, and the kids.
Totally. And I think that's a good transition to talk about, for the people that are like, all right, I'm in. I need just some more details. Obviously you can get all these details on the Ötillö website, but let's break down some of these courses. You mentioned that the World Series distance is a point to point, which is awesome. We also love the A to B concept. I think it just makes it for, as you mentioned, more of a hero's journey, or you're just, racing back to the hotel, essentially, just fun. And so that race, it's pretty stout. So it's 45.4 kilometers or 28.2 miles. Let's talk about that distance. Like, why that distance? Could have made it longer, shorter? What was it about this distance that made sense? And also, this race has from that 45K, about 9K of that is swimming, which is pretty similar to the World Championship course. So pretty beefy on the swimming. So talk us through how you designed that distance and kind of what features were you looking to have for swim runners to experience?
Yeah, when planning the race, I always want a diverse race for the athletes, but also for our series. Because if all races look the same, what's the point of traveling around to them? So, and I think that's the beauty with Swimrun. We don't have these set rules. It has to be 6Ks of swimming and 35Ks of running, for example. Here we're free to do whatever we want. And I actually just picked the most beautiful places that I know of on Åland, and I've spent a lot of time there together with the locals. So the course is designed also by the locals. So because we have a lot of landowners that we have to talk to, especially on Åland. It doesn't work like in Sweden. They don't have allemansrätten where you can just run anywhere without asking. Here you have to ask. So that also decides the course a little bit. So, but from the start, from Havsvidden, it's also in a hotel where we will have the start. From Havsvidden, you pretty much run along the coast of the northern, they call it the Northern Sea, and it's very, very spectacular. And you never know what the weather can be like there. now when we have the race in August, when I was there in August, on the same dates, we had 22 Celsius in the water. So you could pretty much race the whole course without the wetsuit. But normally it's like between 16 and 18 Celsius. So a little more than average, I would say, for an Ötillö race.
That's 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit for, lame Americans who don't know Celsius.
Yeah. And when I was there this summer, a little over like 72 Fahrenheit. So that was actually really nice.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of up and down. The Ice Age created this whole formation, and you have everything from really, really nice trails to no trails at all, just running through the forest where we can set the trails. It's pretty much like going back to the World Championship, when it started.
Yeah.
There was no trails, but now there are trails. So this is what we're hoping to. It's going to be like a swimrun track on the northern part of the island, of Åland Islands. And personally, I think the World Series course, if you're looking to do the World Championship, this is the most similar race we have. In many aspects, like A to B or point to point. And then it's tough. It's going to be a long day for sure for many people. For like Daniel Hansson that was with me on Åland to create this promotion video, he loved it because it's so, it's a lot of technical running, especially in the beginning. But that's what's really cool with the course as well. When you've done half of the course, it pretty much moves into a more fast course with more roads, more trails, and not as many vertical meters. So you climb in the beginning and then you get to enjoy the end. Or that's where you can stretch out your legs if you still have power
If you
to
Still have them.
Yeah.
Mine, I already knew mine got blown up in the first third. I already know.
Yeah. So the World Series it's a real challenge, and if you're looking to the World Championship, I actually think this is a great race to actually taper for the World Championship as well. It's going to be 3 weeks before the World Championship. Normally they recommend to do a hard session 2 weeks before your main goal. So this is now you get even a little more rest after the race if you're looking to taper for the World Championship. And yeah, it's going to be, I'm looking forward to stand on the finish line and hear what people think and hear their thoughts, because I loved it. So I hope they will as well.
Yeah, well, you know a thing or two about what a good swim run looks like, so I think people should be taking your word for it. But yeah, absolutely. As Chris mentioned, definitely hop on over to the website, check out the course. It is really, looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, it gives me a lot of world championships. I see a lot of similarities there. Also, a lot of opportunity to tidy up those transitions and really quick on the ins and outs. I see there's no designated amount of running or swimming, the number of runs or swims yet. So we're still figuring that out, but it'll be a lot. Rest assured, it'll be a lot.
Yeah, definitely. But then we also, we're still offering the sprint and experience, and then the Kidz race. And the sprint it's 15Ks, and you definitely get the value out of the money, even on that course, because that's still a round course. So you start in Kärringsund and you finish in Kärringsund with the World Championship, with the World Series course. And there's still around Kärringsund, you still experience both the Åland Archipelago that is more harsh, less trees, but you still race on mainland, or so to say. It's not really mainland because everything is island here, but in the trees and in the forest. And you have one long swim for the sprint that can be challenging, but it's towards the end of or like a little more than after halfway, and it's a beautiful swim. And when you exit the water from that swim, you can pretty much see the finish line. And then it's an easy course to follow if you are there with your family, because they can be sharing you on several spots, just reaching it by car or by bike. Most people bikes on Åland. And it's a really cool round course that gives you the whole experience of both Åland Islands, but also of a pure Ötillö race.
Yeah. So the stats for that one, it's 15K total, about 9.6 miles, 3K of swimming, so about 1.9 miles, and then the rest about 7 miles or 12Ks of running, which again seems super approachable. I'm curious, just like logistically, it's how hard is it to have multiple races happening? I know that the sprint starts much later than the World Series distance on Saturday. Is it logistically challenging to have a bunch of athletes, way off, making their way back home, and then having people kind of doing a different route altogether?
Definitely. We need more volunteers for this race. We have way more boats. We have around 20-25 boats, which pretty much we only have for the World Championship. We have plus 30 boats for the World Championship, but it's a lot of safety, especially on the northern part of the World Series. But the beauty here is on the Åland Islands, there's no boat traffic. It's not like Stockholm Archipelago where we have over 1 million boats. In the Åland Archipelago, there's the boats you see, they're Swedish. Pretty much.
They're trying to get away from the boat traffic.
It's like that. So in that concern, it's actually easier. It's just like you said, it's so stretched out, the whole field and the two races going on at the same time. So there's more both logistics and the planning for sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's Saturday.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet, because
easy
on
little
Sunday,
Saturday for yourself.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm sure people listening to this or watching this on YouTube are already thinking it. It's like, yes, you can do the World Series and then also do the experience the next day. So if you're going to be there, you might as well get all your swim running in as part of summer camp. So just go do it. So on Sunday, we have the experience, which, again, very approachable, 6.4K total. So 4 miles, 700 meters of swimming, or 765 yards, and 3.5 miles or 5.7K of running. So super approachable. Also a loop course, starting and finishing at the same place. So I love the experience. I've never done an experience race, because whenever Chipper and I go, we're like, well, we're getting a hall pass, we might as well get all of our money's worth, maximum suffering. But I love the experience, because we see people do the experience all the time, and for a lot of people that's their first swim run experience. And we mentioned on the show, it's like that first experience, if it's positive, they're going to come back. If it's an ordeal, if it's just ridiculous, whatever, then they're less likely to come back, obviously. So when you're thinking about experiences, I'm assuming you guys are thinking the same thing. It's like, let's just make this approachable, make it fun, make it safe. When you're designing these courses, anything else that goes into it?
Yeah, safety, of course. That's like my prio one, to make safe races for everyone. And then, of course, fun. And then, experience is both probably the hardest course to design, but also the most fun one to design, because, like you said, that's where it all starts for many people. And if they can get a nice experience and good experience, both from the course, but also from check-in, from traveling there to meet all the athletes, and it's not only us that is responsible for the first race. But,
good point.
Yeah, but we do our best. But good food at the finish line, like a medal around your neck. There's so many things going into getting a good experience. that we are constantly thinking about and trying to develop. And this course, if I were to start swim running, I would choose from, and I'm looking to do an experience race, I would choose between this one or the one on Ötillö, because I think those are the two best experience courses we have. And not like the others are bad in any way. It's just like, yeah, you get a lot of archipelago, you get a lot of Ötillö feeling around these two just mentioned. And yeah, this one you can actually just, yeah, if you have a bike, you can follow your spouse or husband or wife or, yeah, for the whole race pretty much. When they swim, you just bike around, and when they come up, you
meet
say,
them at the other side.
Which is pretty cool. And yeah, when you finish, you get a nice local fish soup warm in your hand, which will taste really good. And then you can just enjoy watching all the small kids crossing the finish line.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, love that, especially the kids race there. I know that's, Chris and I have aspirations of racing with our kids someday here, which I guess the day is technically coming up here soon enough. They will be old enough, I suppose.
Few years.
We just have to convince them. Yeah, how for the kids race, obviously, as you mentioned at the top, safety, obviously the primary concern about that, but there's also some lower water levels that if any sort of panicking or freaking out happens, they can stand up and just kind of walk some of the runs there. Walk us through a little bit about what you're really trying to index on for the kids race.
Yeah, so actually this is not Ötillö's first kids race. The first kids race that Ötillö had was on Isle Scilly many years back. And they had more than 200 kids participating, which is really cool. And ever since then, we were like, oh, we should do this. Now, finally, it's happening. And, there's 3 swims, actually. And these swims, you can walk if you are more than 140 centimeters, I would say. 140 centimeters. So, and what's that in that's like,
I only know temperature. I don't know.
I'll Google it.
Yeah.
55 inches. 55. Now let me convert that to feet.
Yeah, exactly. Must be like 4 or 5 feet.
4.5 feet.
4.5 feet. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and we're talking, it's like less than a K, right? So it's 0.8 kilometers for the whole course, and you get 3 swims. I mean, that sounds like
that's impressive.
That just sounds like fun,
Yeah. And the swims are like, the first is like 40 meters. So can you do like a lap in a 50-meter pool? Then you're good. And then the second swim is like 60 meters, but like, you
got a pull buoy.
And you can walk it.
You're fine.
So,
fine.
And then the last swim, you actually run out on a dock, you jump from the dock, and then you swim into the finish line. So
awesome.
It's fun. I think that's fun for the kids as well, to jump off the dock and then swim into the finish line. So
what's the age limit on that one? Just asking.
You gonna register, Chris?
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, we don't have the age limit. Yeah, we'll know soon. When this episode is released, we will know. And that information will be found on the website.
Yeah.
I love it. it.
And this really aligns well with a new initiative that you all announced in the last few weeks about a steep registration discount for anyone under the age of 20, I believe, registering for a swim run. So love to see that Ötillö is really kind of getting more youth and not just, I guess, kids and young adults into the sport to breathe some new youth into it. So this seems like an obvious concerted effort on your all's part. I would love to hear a little bit more about what some of the thinking is behind it.
Yeah, we've seen from other races, and especially from our audience on social media. Our target group is way lower on social media, but looking on the participant age, it's higher. So we figured out maybe we have a lot of students, for example, watching our social media, or younger people watching our social media, but they feel that they can't afford it because it's too expensive. So we figured, let's try to do something about it. And this was our first solution, and we'll evaluate and see if it works. We've also seen from other swimrun events from France and from other swimrun events in Sweden and so on, that they have a lot of young, fast people, both women and men. And we want to give them the opportunity to race our races as well. So that's what's behind the whole price drop for that age group.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's great. And I think it's like, in many ways, and this is something we talk about on the show a lot, it's like we're all trying to grow this thing, and we love it, right? And we just need other people to try it. And a large percentage of them will love it. It's that's, I'm willing to die on that hill. Like, you just need to try it and go in with an open mind, and you'll have a good time. So I love initiatives like this, and I love that you guys are just trying something new to try to attract and grow these races, because I mean, it's important, right? If we want these things to stay. I mean, the 20th anniversary of Ötillö is in 2026. Like, I mean, we want to make these events last for another 20 years.
Yeah. And for 2026, we can expect a lot. Don't tell you more than that, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a cool year.
Back on for that one.
No, but definitely, and like I feel that I do a lot of different things for Ötillö Swimrun as a sports director, and my tasks are like pretty much everywhere. But one of the main things that not only me, but that our whole crew is discussing all the time is like, how do we make this a sport now? Like a sport that is mentioned in the newspaper on the sports sections. It's a sport that is mentioned on television as a sport. We don't want to end up in the travel section anymore, so to say. We want to become a sport, and I think it's important to include this age group in the early ages, that there is a career within swimrun, and you can make it a career. And it's interesting to it will be interesting to see where this is leading, and that's like one of our focuses as well. So, and like you said, we are trying, and then we will evaluate. And many people don't know this, but Chris, you're also part of SAC Swimrun. It's like a Swimrun. What are we calling it?
I think it's a Swimrun Athlete Committee. I think
exactly.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, Swimrun.
I'm honored to be part of it.
Math checks out.
Yeah,
I'm an honorary member. I just share Chris's membership sometimes.
Chipper certainly gets the direct download for me as to what happens in that meeting.
And Chip is just like, hey, Chris, can you tell them to do this as well?
Here's some good ideas to push.
Yeah. No, but I don't think a lot of people know about the Swimrun Athlete Committee, that it's actually you athletes that are majority in the committee, and we are listening to your opinions, and we have 4 meetings every year. And of course, if you have other opinions, just approach me or any of my colleagues during the race, and we always listen, and we always bring it back to the office, and we go through it. And there's many things to actually apply something from an idea to reality. It's like any other work, but it can happen. So So that's what we've been doing here as well. We think there's a need. We've heard rumors that there's a need as well. So we want to try this for sure.
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit, being part of the committee. I mean, it's made up with people who love the sport, and people who are, I would say, a little bit more skeptical. There's a variety of voices. And what I love about that committee, it's like I mentioned earlier, we're all trying to do the same thing. We all love this thing. We all want it to grow. And we think there's room for growth. And I think, speaking for committee members who can speak for themselves for sure, I think we appreciate being asked to give a voice and to help sort of chart the future of the sport that we all love with an organization that's really, at the forefront of it all. So it's super cool to be a part of. And I think, if there's yet another reason to love Swimrun and love Ötillö is the fact that you guys are in fact trying to listen and iterate and keep evolving and make the sport as approachable, as welcoming and inclusive as possible, which incidentally, that's what we're trying to do with our show. So, there's so much overlap into what so many people, I mean, not just us, but the other Swimrun podcasts that are out there now, people with rankings, Swimrun advice, there's just a lot of people that are doing what they can to help grow the sport. And it's, it's great that we can all do it together and not just have it be all, oh, France is doing this and Sweden's doing this and America's doing that. Now we're much more connected, which I think is great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we hope to connect all the people in Finland because as you saw, they're doing really well in the World Championship. And by bringing a race to Åland, which is part of Finland, hopefully that can create a little more of a fuss about swimrun in Finland again, as it was. They actually still have some events with more than 200 participants. So we know that the athletes are there, and we're really keen on moving into Finland and Åland now. And 2026 might bring even more. We already planning for new races for 2026, and hopefully we have another announcement for 2025 in just a few weeks. So just stay tuned.
Yeah,
of course,
you're just busy.
we have some episodes to fill. So, and of course, for the U.S. swim runners, we have Ötillö Catalina that is coming back as well. Very excited about that. So, really, really exciting and motivating to see the growth of the sport, not only in the United States, but also in Europe as well.
Yeah, Catalina, it's really fun to have Catalina back. I was not there, unfortunately, when it took place last time. But, it's funny when I hear people talk about Ötillö in US, here in Sweden, people are still talking only about Catalina. I'm just like, hey, guys, we have all these other races. We have Austin, we have Mackinac, we have Casco Bay, and we have Orcas Island. What's wrong with them? It's I think it's something really special with Catalina. It just sits outside of Los Angeles, which is Los Angeles. It's really cool for Swedes or Europeans because everyone knows about it. And it was a tough race last time. And it's going to be cool to come back and actually show that it was not a one-timer. This is a race that we really want to back on the schedule. So, we're super excited to bring Catalina back.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, certainly share that excitement. Speaking of the U.S. races and how they work with the European races, so, can't help but notice that this race happens on the same weekend as Casco Bay. Was there a reason? It's just, obviously logistics with the European calendar and everything else, but was there some consideration as to, it's a bummer that these overlap, or was it just kind of unavoidable?
We actually tried for another date first, 1 week later, but then we were like, maybe it's too close to the World Championship.
Yeah.
And then the European schedule now, we're aiming to have 10 races in Europe and 10 races in North America. And it's going to be a tight schedule. And the bigger we grow, the more they will overlap. So I think it's unavoidable, unfortunately. But this was more of it's the same with Engadine and Whistler. It's the same weekend. We have a few of those that are on the same weekend where you just have to prioritize, I guess, which race you want to do. And, just because it's like this year, it's probably not going to be like that next year. So, yeah, we're trying to adopt, like, now to make room for Åland Islands. You also maybe saw that we actually pushed Gothenburg 1 week earlier to make more room between Gothenburg and Åland, so you could potentially do both. So
yeah, I mean, I saw that it was earlier, but I didn't know it was because it was this race that we just released on an exclusive Low Tide Boyz podcast, and this thing's coming out. So
we know now,
obviously, yeah, we know now. Yep. Obviously, Stefan, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this race. I think anyone who loves swimrun, who's listening to this or watching this on YouTube, is super stoked right now. If I can just speak for all swim runners right now, I think it's going to be awesome. Yeah. It's gonna be so great. So thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about this race. And registration's open.
Yeah.
So you know what you need.
If you're hearing this, it's open. Go.
Go and register. It will be a lifetime experience for sure. We can guarantee that.
I love it. Well,
awesome.
Thanks so much, Stefan, and we'll see you at Catalina, if not sooner.
Definitely. Ciao.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swimrun.
Check out our website, lowtideboyz.com. That's boys with a Z, for swimrun resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboyz@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel.
Of course, yes.
In the morning,